spontaneously.
That was so funny.
Someone yesterday sent me a message and they were like, what were you reading? I stripped out the show. There's no script. There's no script. I'm staring at my screen getting ready to play the next clip while I'm talking. I prepped this thing like 20 minutes before I gave it. Anyways, as you can see, it's still going there. Ron's like, you got about 30 seconds. And in my head, I heard 30 minutes.
And then I said, check your volume. And then he just forgot.
It's like, whoa, what's going on? Where am I? Okay, yesterday I did watch a playback of the show, and I noticed if I have the mic a certain way, you can see the sticker. And if I actually keep it close to my face, you can hear me better. So I will do my best. Oh, let's see. Peasants Perspective, good morning. That's you, Ron. Good morning, Tony Boy. Douglas Wyatt, good morning. And yeah, everybody, welcome. Glad you guys are here today. And I know you guys are here. It's for the simultaneous sip. All you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. I like coffee. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. Now.
My, that coffee smells good. Ain't it funny how coffee never tastes as good as it smells?
As you grow older, you'll discover that life is very much like coffee. The aroma is always better than the actuality. May that be your thought for the day.
That's great. Oh, I have to bring this thermos here because, you know, I left my house like 2 hours ago before we went to the gym. So I got my coffee thermos. It's perfect. I love it. Okay, so Ron, you had something that you wanted to bring up.
Oh,
yesterday there was a little confusion on the show. The guy I know, the inmate that was on Jeffrey Epstein's cell block, he's alive.
Okay.
He's not killed. You were saying, well, did they kill him? I think you were referring to him. I was referring to Jeffrey Epstein. We were kind of having two separate conversations.
That is what I was worried. I was worried that he would be a target because what did he say? Was it really the truth? Or, you know, is there a different story? We don't really know, you know, and we just know what he's told us. And that could change if he's not alive.
Yeah, exactly. So, but as far as I know, he's alive. He's rolling around somewhere, literally rolling around.
Yeah, I was just worried about him.
Yeah, no, me too. Which is kind of why I've hesitated all this time to share that story. It's the same thing with I don't really want to come out and go hard against the sheriff in my county because, you know, the sheriff could become the sheriff of Nottingham pretty fast. So it's like, you know, we all pick our battles to a certain degree. Anyways, another little tidbit. We got some official information on the preliminary rating numbers from the viewership for the Bad Bunny halftime performance. Oh. It tanked 39% from last year. That's pretty bad. Only 26.5 million households watched. 48.6 million tuned into the game, meaning nearly half of Americans turned off the TV at halftime. Total cultural victory. Because you got to assume a lot of people just left it on because it was playing, right? Because you didn't take the time to go over, switch over to YouTube, but a lot of people did.
I can imagine that a bunch of people with kids were like, no.
Yeah, not doing that. Not doing that. And those lyrics that they played, Don Jr. posted those lyrics and he's like, how is it possible that we're doing this here?
Yeah.
You know, and
how is it not an FCC violation?
I don't know. Because the FCC doesn't speak English or Spanish. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. It makes no sense to me either. Carlitos, good morning. Glad you made it. Fundraiser, good morning to you as well. Glad you made it. So Milo Yiannopoulos, who's someone that I admire, not because of any particular reason, just because of his gusto and his flair. Okay. Sure. And I admire someone who says, you know, has the humility to say, I lived a lifestyle that wasn't appropriate and sincerely changes. Okay. So he posted this thing. He says, if you're not playing at Kim.com's level, ask yourself why. Now, at Kim.com is just someone that's got a kind of slightly influential account on X, but we've had this conversation with the Jeffrey Epstein release, you know, this idea of the goyim. Now, those of us who've known this phrase forever, this is the Jew supremacist phrase for the other, right? Yeah. Goyim. Yeah. And so non-Jews were born to serve us. Without that, they have no place in the world, only to serve the people of Israel. And then he puts Jeffrey Epstein. Now, anytime you put something that gets an attribution context, yes, when you get community notes, the community notes gets a lot more traction than your original post because every single person who interacted with your post gets notified. This quote is not from Epstein. It's from Rabbi Ovidia Yosef, Sephardi chief rabbi of Tel Aviv and influential spiritual leader in the Shas party, which is part of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government in 2009 to 2012. So you understand the significance of Milo's hilarious comment. If you're not playing at his level, ask yourself why. Kim.com tricked the system into amplifying his message into the fact that it's not just Jeffrey Epstein, it's the entire Jewish religion. Anyways, Brett Weinstein posted yesterday. He grew up a Jew. Apparently he never heard of the Talmud till he was an adult, and he'd never heard the phrase goyim. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I mean, not everybody is fully active in whatever faith tradition they have. Sure. So yesterday in Issaquah, and this is happening all around Washington State, and I really don't understand it. For whatever reason, you've got these teachers who want to take their students out of classrooms and go participate in ICE protests. Yeah, they're marching. This happened in Bremerton. This happens in Tacoma. This has happened all over the Washington State, Western Washington State area. Teachers are taking, you should ask your son if anybody's been offered to go stand on the corner for one of these protests for their civic engagement, right? So schools, this is happening. Like, this is actually happening.
I believe you.
Yeah, and administrators are looking the other way because entire classes are walking out. Now, there's been some man on the street people who, why are you skipping class? Because I don't want to go to class. I get to go outside. All right, but you realize you're now like a participant in volume of these protests to make it look like it's legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the parents out in Issaquah, Washington, went to confront the group and start asking questions. And these teenagers got a little out of hand.
All of a sudden, we stumble upon a whole bunch of kids. And I'm like, do your parents know that you guys are out of school? Somebody bumps into me. Somebody says like, you to me. I get my hair, it just turned violent. So fast. I get my hair pulled. I don't know which way is up.
Get off of her. Get off of her.
Whoa.
I knew that there were police officers there. I saw them just before. I'm waiting on them to come and rescue me from being assaulted. Like, I'm like, how much longer is this going to be? I finally I see a man. I was moved so far away from my friend. I see a man here. And I'm like, you have to help me. Pushes me into almost like a police officer. And I was like, what are you doing? I just got assaulted. What are you doing here? Why were you not helping me over there? He's like, come this way. I can't get involved right now. It's just too unsafe. We have backup coming to come and, shut this down. And I'm like, my head is spinning. I cannot believe what just happened. I still continue to feel unsafe because the police officer was telling me he can't do anything. He's waiting for backup. He did not do anything. He was just supervising.
So we're weaponizing our kids.
Just there.
Yeah, we're weaponizing our kids. It seems like the school board could just fire the principal and solve all of this.
Yeah.
If you let one of your teachers let one kid step out of the classroom during school hours,
they're gone.
We're going to call it kidnapping. We're going to call what else could it be? You've taken the kids away from the parents have authorized them to be.
Yeah.
Do you have permission slips from all the kids to go on this wonderful field trip?
I'd like to know.
Because that's what it looks like to me is a field trip. So I'm assuming you have some type of permission slips.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is happening. Like, this is our neighborhoods, Ron. Issaquah.
Yeah, this is just
there's
like
no difference from Issaquah to Silverdale.
This is like 40 miles away from Seattle.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just letting people know that don't know where Issaquah is.
Yeah, Issaquah's. Yeah, it's part of King County. It's in the same county as Seattle. It's a suburb of Bellevue, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
Lots of people in Issaquah work in Seattle. It's just take the I-90 bridge. Boom. You're there.
Yep.
So that's the kind of stuff where it's like, first of all, you got one cop there and you've got all these people. Should have called for backup a little earlier. But yeah, we're weaponizing our kids.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot outrun indoctrination. We're not going to outrun it. We're not going to outvote it. If all those kids actually feel that way, that's your next generation.
Yep. So,
when the boomers die and the Zoomers take their place, that's it.
But there's a reason if they feel that way, isn't there?
I don't know. I mean,
where did they get all of these ideas?
That's
you know what I'm okay.
I struggle with my kids from time to time having you know, this woke mindset. Like, oh, Dad, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, who's teaching you that it's bad to say X, Y, Z?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. It's the teachers, right? It's the teachers that have an incredible amount of influence over our kids. And every totalitarian state, every government ever has
But I'll bet the teachers in this little protest are just not standing over on the side. Just, oh, it's just the kids. That's nothing to do with me. I mean, I've been telling what to do for the last 3 years, but
yeah. And that woman doesn't look. I mean, she doesn't have a nose ring. She doesn't have purple or pink hair. She's not fat and overweight with weird skin issues. So she's clearly probably like conservative, right? So I'm sure the teachers who are fat and overweight with the nose ring and the colored hair are like, let her get beat up. It's pretty sad. There was another little incident in Tacoma, Washington yesterday where
I need to turn into this spot and there's hella cops where I need to go right there. Oh,
Look at this.
shit. Oh my God.
oh,
look, he's got a gun. This is the suspect taken off. He's armed, trying to get in someone's van, and they took him out. So they shot him. Cops shot him right there in Tacoma. So up in Issaquah, they're letting pedestrians get beat up by students, and down in Tacoma, they're chasing guys with guns down the middle of the street. And she's on her way to the spa. Hey, we live in a big city. I don't know, man. It's RFK was on with Heritage Foundation. He gave this interview, and I want to use this interview to kind of set the stage. So that other stuff was just a little bit of local information and some local flair. This is really where I want to take the theme for today. It's this idea that don't trust the experts, man.
Parents need to be on their guard because you know, we were told by the last administration, trust the experts. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. I argued the Monsanto case, and they had experts from Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, and I had experts from Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, and they're saying two opposite things, depending on what their bias was. And so, and trusting the experts is not a feature of democracy, and it's not a feature of science.
That's important to understand. Trusting the experts is not a feature of democracy. The whole point of democracy is everybody is equal in their vote, and everybody then can take information and interpret it for themselves. The duty of authority figures, experts and scientists and whatnot, is to explain to the individual voter, person, whatever, the information in such a way that it becomes easy for consumption. The trust me model is not democratic.
right. So that's the other thing that everybody just completely doesn't understand or ignores, and that is that science does not equal truth. Science is a process. It's like
Exactly.
Feature of religion and totalitarianism, but not of democracy. So in democracy, we need, my dad told me when I was a kid, people in authority lie. And, the government lies all the time. And it lied to us about the dietary guidelines for 50 years.
50 years. There are people walking around with spare tires, morbidly obese because they trusted the food pyramid, and their dietitians and their school cafeteria lunch ladies and all the people involved in the food process.
somebody should do a Venn diagram on people's weight versus their trust level.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah,
How
that
much
sounds
do
like
you
a
trust the
Veritasium
government and
thing
what's
or
your
something.
weight? Huh?
That sounds like a Veritasium thing or something that they could do.
So when people in authority lie, imagine what it would be if you're in authority and you're lying about, say, an election. And what if you were the one who won the election, but you were also the one who was administering the election? How much would you be like, trust me, I checked, I won fair and square, right? You think that person, whoever is in charge of counting the votes for an election in which they're in, you think that person would want to be the most transparent, like the most, hey, everybody come look at the ballot so everybody can see I won fair and square, even though it's my job to count the ballots. Does that make sense? Like, let me get a couple of extra set of eyes in here. Can we get consensus on
It's
it?
the same thing as recusing yourself if you're a judge and you're involved in the whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, hey, let's avoid the appearance of conflict. Let me let
Right.
someone else do the counting.
Right.
Well, that kind of happened down in Arizona with Katie Hobbs. She was the Secretary of State in charge of running the 2020 election. She was running for governor and she won. And, trust me, I counted everything just
What
fine.
if Trump ordered the FBI to search Maricopa County for Arizona's 2020 election records? Can they just walk in and do what they did in Fulton County, Georgia?
Look, these ballots from the 2020 election, it's 2026.
Yeah.
The Maricopa County ballots have been relitigated over and over again, dozens of times. We're good on 2020. We know where we stand. We know who won that election. We know who lost.
Who is
What are we
she?
doing?
She's the governor of Arizona.
Oh,
That's Katie Hobbs.
okay, liar.
Okay. People in power lie. That's the default position. Yeah, I know. Hey, you had the whole Cyber Ninja Symposium. I remember calling my defense attorney. I was driving on Beaver Dick Highway up there,
Yeah.
right, heading up to Port Townsend, and I was making one of those $350 an hour phone calls to my defense attorney. This is, and this Cyber Symposium was going on the Ninja thing was going on, and I was incensed. I mean, they had batched up, screwed up signatures, all the stuff, unfolded ballots, poll tabs, and this doesn't match and that doesn't match. I mean, it was like at the end of the thing, you're waiting for the last sentence of the cybersecurity report to be like, the election was fraudulent. And then they go, and that's all we have, folks. It was like, here's our assessment. Here's all the things that are wrong. And what's your conclusion? Oh, we don't have a conclusion.
The end.
At the end, we don't have a conclusion. Okay, so then Katie Hobbs is like, see, we're good. We still won the election. And everybody who looks at it's like, the math doesn't add up. But Cyber Ninjas wouldn't say it was stolen. And then you look at the pressure he had and stuff like that. It's like, okay.
But she uses a big word like adjudicated.
Yeah. They didn't have standing, Ron. So anyways, I was calling him, but I was like, hey, after all this Cyber Ninja stuff, they're surely going to drop my J6 case. He's like, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Oh, how naive I was.
Mm-hmm.
This Fulton County election ballot thing is, and we're supposed to see the warrant today. So we're going to see the warrant and the affidavit for probable cause at some point today. It's going to be released. I'm actually watching my feed here to see if it possibly pops up while we're talking, because I'd love to see what they presented to a judge, a leftist judge that goes, oh, snap. I think 5 years after the fact or 6 years after the fact, I think I will send the cops in there to grab the ballots. You know what I mean? I really want to know what they say. There is, again, a narrative being developed on the other side that Trump is going to use this to try to create national elections. Of course he's going to do that. They're trying to paint that as unconstitutional. Of course it's unconstitutional. When did you think we were living under the Constitution? I mean, I'm pretty sure we abandoned that somewhere around 1913, 1933, 1971, 1881. I mean, there's so many moments where I can go, we are post-constitutional, right? So shut up about that. At this point, we're just trying to make it work for us. So anyways, Face the Nation on Sunday had this on, and they are, again, in absolute panic over having these ballots, and they're concerned about Tulsi Gabbard being involved. They cannot and will not acknowledge on the left side of the propaganda sphere, they will not acknowledge the potential for foreign involvement, that these elections were stolen. After they spent a decade telling us Russia helped Trump, right? What if that's it? What if Trump came out and said, well, we want to look at those ballots. We want to make sure Putin wasn't trying to help me win. Will that give them another narrative to run with? Maybe they can lean into it and go, yeah, those ballots are all fake. No, they're terrified.
Ballots you just talked about from Fulton County, we have body camera footage of these FBI agents going and taking the ballots. Why would the FBI now be taking the ballots? Why was the Director of National Intelligence there? And what would they do with
this? Is a
these
great
ballots?
question, and it still has not been answered. First of all, there was no crime committed in 2020. Those ballots have been counted and reviewed so many times. We know exactly what happened in Georgia in 2020. Joe Biden won that state by a relatively narrow margin of 11,779 votes. In 2024, Donald Trump won that state. Democrats didn't somehow have the magical ability while out of the White House to steal an election in 2020 and then forget to use that power in 2024 when they had the White House.
Okay. This is where being informed matters. What was the difference between 2020 and 2024 and 2016? If you're deep into this like we are, In 2016, there was a server room in Virginia that somebody walked into with a hammer and bang, bang, bang. And that prevented the last second flip for Hillary Clinton. And it was a shocker. Trump won. He'd overwhelmed all of the on the ground cheating. And when the servers couldn't flip things, it was a problem. Okay. So then fast forward to 2020, not only did you have the servers flipping things because they got in control of it, and the server went to Serbia. So it wasn't in a closet in Virginia. Now it's in Serbia.
Got to keep it away from the hammers.
Yeah. Keep it away because it's the hammer and scorecard program, apparently. Right. So they took it to Serbia. 2020, that happens. They're backloading ballots. We watched it happen. They've got the COVID, the mail-in ballots. All the rules changed. Cheat, period. Then you fast forward to 2024. The RNC finally gets taken over by Laura Trump and I can't remember the chairman's name, the main guy. He's running for Senate in North Carolina now. But anyways, it got taken over. They hired attorneys. Unlike in 2020, where they had like 40 attorneys, now they had like 500 attorneys. And they were camped out outside of all the critical voting centers, turning away U-Haul trucks at midnight.
Oof.
Literally turning away U-Haul trucks at midnight. In Detroit, they kept waving a U-Haul truck on all night long until Detroit finalized their counting. They kept trying to bring the ballots in, and people stood outside the voting center to deny the receipt of ballots after midnight. And they were too afraid to go to court to try to accept them because they were showing up in a freaking U-Haul. Imagine asking a judge to allow to count ballots that came in on a U-Haul after midnight. They didn't do it. That's why 2024 happened. Not only was the Serbia server fried, but then on top of that, they were vigilant about quickly going to court and things like that.
You know, every time somebody on the news or on the radio says, well, this has been just adjudicated, it's all settled, we've already figured it out, and everybody knows Georgia's, the way it went. Every time somebody says that, I'm just like, but that's why we're doing a podcast here, because nobody has still, to me, demonstrated to me in like simple terms that some dumbass like me can understand that it was won by Joe Biden. You need to demonstrate to the lowest denominator people, that's me, that it was won by Joe Biden in easy terms. Is there some way you can do that? There's no way. Nobody can do it. Nobody can. And quit saying that this is all settled. It's not. It never was. It was never adjudicated. It was never settled. I can keep going on like this. Taylor's laughing.
Yes, I love
He's like, finally, Ron saying something.
It is the trust the experts. Yeah. In a democracy, you should be able to show me the ballots. I keep having this contention in the Peasants Pod living room in the chat in there. I keep having this argument. It's not an argument. It's a discussion. Because one of our listeners is an election worker. Like they work for the county and they manage and supervise elections. And they've got all kinds of safeties for how many ballots come in and how many ballots go out of the machine. But there's a couple spots. They're having open discussions about putting the machines inside of rooms without Wi-Fi and cell phone access. Why are you having that discussion? I thought these weren't supposed to connect to the internet. Well, they do, but we don't, but they don't, but they do, but we know they do, but they don't. So, and then they're having serious discussions about putting the machines in Faraday cages when they're out on site away. What? This is county workers having this discussion. So clearly you have some insecurity, but trust the machines. Can you spot check them? Well, we do these little spot audits. Well, that's not counting ballots. Like if you're like, here's the ballots you're going to audit, because that's what was happening in Arizona that Cyber Ninja said. They were very specific about which boxes they pulled out the ballots to audit.
Yeah, and that's not a real audit, folks. That's just that's like an in-house housekeeping thing that you do just to know where you are. That is not an audit.
So it's not democratic. I'm like, our elections should be so simple that third graders who know how to add +1 to any whole number should be able to sit and pretty much verify any election.
Right.
Okay? Like it should be that simple. You should be able to just have people sitting around tables, counting ballots, multiple people, you figure it out. This doesn't have to be that hard.
Okay, so every time that somebody says, well, it's already been adjudicated, the reason that they're saying that is because they're answering a question that somebody across the table asked them. And why
can't you give the answer?
Right. Every damn time.
Why do you deflect to it's been adjudicated instead of just telling me the answer?
Right. Every damn time. That's what I want. I just want the answer.
Because a judge looked at it. Oh, yeah, what was their decision? Oh, the candidate didn't have standing to challenge and look at the ballots. Well, that's what we want to do is look at the ballots. It's been adjudicated. And what was the adjudication? The candidate didn't have standing.
Exactly.
So did anybody look at the ballots? Yeah, after we decided that based on laches that they couldn't change the outcome, we went ahead and let them poke around it at, the Cyber Ninja Symposium. So again, what this guy's saying here in his nice pinstripe suit with his little pocket protect, whatever he's got going on there, right? He's neglecting to tell the whole story. He's neglecting to give the full bit of information. It's just propaganda.
In 2024 when they had the White House. So we know exactly what happened. If there was a true, honest review of those ballots, it'll confirm exactly what the result was, just as when the Cyber Ninjas reviewed the Maricopa County ballots in Arizona, they found the same exact outcome.
Let it happen.
They didn't.
Let it happen then.
I was so excited about it because I thought the Department of Justice might let me off the hook because the election was stolen. That's how convinced I was by the information that the Cyber Ninjas provided.
As for the Director of National Intelligence being in Fulton County, there is no viable reason to have a high-level political appointee during the execution of a search warrant. That search warrant has many defects, as the body cam footage showed. There was a defect in the address when they first showed up. They had to go back and get a corrected search warrant. And there's also this issue of the statute of.
What would be the reason why a high-level cabinet official that's in the Department of National Intelligence, what would be the reason they would be there? There's no reason they should be there, but if they were, what would be the reason?
Limitations. There's a 5-year statute of limitations under federal law for any of the crimes that they mentioned in the warrant. There were 2 specific statutes. That 5-year statute has expired by any measure. And so I'm not sure why a magistrate signed off on it.
Because it's a conspiracy. It's an ongoing conspiracy.
We're not sure why the DNI was in Fulton County inside a local election warehouse. We've heard shifting explanations. First, the Deputy Attorney General said she happened to be in Atlanta. I don't know that that's particularly credible. And then then we heard the President directed her, and then Attorney General Bondi directed her. We have no idea what actually happened.
Well, we checked, and at least 9 top Trump administration officials by CBS criteria raised doubt about the validity or integrity of the 2020 election. That count does not include the President of the United States himself.
At least 9 of the cabinet officials are convinced 2020 was stolen. Good. They have a lot of shit to clean up in those departments from the last 4 years. They should be under very clear understanding that Biden was an autopin president and was not the actual elected leader of this country. Right. So I'm glad there are 9 cabinet officials who have questioned the 2020. Carlite says, just looked at the calendar. The 2026 elections fall on 11/13. I hope that's a cue marker. I do too. I would love it if we had a huge red wave and we just absolutely swept into office a whole bunch of Republicans. Here's the problem. The Democrats and the progressives are one step ahead of you. Are you running for office? Are you involved politically? Because if you're not, you might be surprised at some of the shiz that we get on the ballot in 2026, because the Democrats absolutely know that eventually their brand is going to be so tainted they can't run as Democrats. So they are openly running as Republicans.
I'm not a real Republican. Like, I'm telling people the truth. I knock on a door and I say I'm running in the Republican primary, but I'm not a Republican. I'm a progressive. I'm running as a Republican in the Republican primary for Congressional District 14 because that is where the actual competition happens in our gerrymandered district. It happens in the primaries. Like, if you're in a district that is a lock for Democrats, that Democratic primary is where the competition is. And quite frankly, while the can't win strategy is about building for the long term and like building our bench and being ready for fair maps in 2030, we got to fucking win right now because we are in an emergency, like a democratic emergency. And so the place I can win is as a fake Republican. And I'm not a real Republican.
The place I can win is as a fake Republican. What's a rhino? Republican in name only. I'm running as a rhino. I'm a progressive. Vote for me. But you know what happens is all the Republicans that don't follow politics close enough to pay attention, they're going to get their ballot. They're going to know that someone big is at the top of the ticket. They're going to know the vote for the big, and then they're going to go down ballot and just vote R. You're going to vote for that gal. She's going to win the primary. Then she's going to go on to the general, and she's going to run against a Democrat.
And you have no idea what her platform is or what she's going to vote for.
Nope. because she's lying to you from the start. Because we gotta go fix things. Well, what are you gonna fix? Well, I can't tell you the truth because I'm trying to get the Republican votes.
Right.
But I'm a progressive. Well, what does that mean? Oh, everything you think it means, baby. Everything you think it means.
Yep.
Bolshevik through and through. But if words have no meaning, Republican, Democrat,
yep.
The party system is about power.
Well, it's the same thing as me in Washington State that's been blue for about 30 years, thinking, if I want to run for office, if I'm going to run, and I want to win an office seat, I kind of need to pretend I'm a Democrat.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how long I'd last though. Maybe I'd be like, I was Antifa at the Capitol. Oh, well, come on over.
I think they'd be like,
hey, I already hate the government. Oh, we love the government right now. We love the government, but we hate the government. Does anybody love the government? Or does the government become like the Stooges' useful tool?
Well, I think that the people that are getting paid from the Democrat love the government.
Unless the Republicans are in power. I don't know. I mean, it's like snip, snap, snip, snap. Scott Adams had it best. If your default position is don't trust the government, you almost always end up being right.
Yeah.
Almost always end up being right. Why is Donald Trump different? Donald Trump is different because he doesn't care, right? He made his billions on his own. He's not like our last handful of presidents that sure they were worth millions of dollars, but millions ain't billions.
Well, and he's also not distracted from day trading like Pelosi.
He's not distracted by day trading. Yeah, he doesn't care. He said many times, if I lose 2 million, lose 5 billion, it doesn't matter. This is about saving our country. Robert Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump has very opposing views on policy. Okay, they're very different people. Robert Kennedy Jr. is a classic Democrat. Donald Trump has been a classic Republican for as long as he says. The idea that he switched parties from Democrat to Republican, I think that's a lie. Because you can go back to when he was talking to Oprah and he's like, I'd run as a Republican. I'm a Republican. Reagan was the greatest president ever. That's not something Democrats say. Okay, he was a Republican. In fact, he was even a little while a part of the Libertarian Party or the whatever the far right Republican Party thing going on. So he's definitely a Republican. Now, he's socially progressive. Whether you like spaghetti or steak, he doesn't care. Classic statement. So here's RFK talking about how great it is to work for Donald Trump because he doesn't care. He's not bought.
He doesn't care about vested interests. And he doesn't care about, about offending powerful people. So it's a joy to work for him because he lets me do stuff that I don't think anybody else would ever let me do.
When I consider the long-term trajectory of our country, our health as a nation is one of the most important things. So everything that I see RFK doing over there at HHS, he's kind of operating in the background. I mean, every now and then we get a big hoopla, but he's taken out chemicals out of our food. I mean, these are not insignificant things. You start to chart that out over 10, 15, 20 years. We might go back to the time, you see the pictures of people in the 1960s all fit, and all the kids are like doing pull-ups and stuff. And now there's like one kid in the whole elementary school that can do a pull-up. Yeah. And we might go back to that, Ron. Like we might actually be a healthy people again. I was watching this other thing where it was like a bunch of boomers being like, I ate junk food growing up and it was fine with me. And it was showing ingredient list and it was like Lay's potato chips, like potatoes, oil, salt. It was like, and now it's like a paragraph of all these chemicals. He's like, these are not the same product. It was like going through all these Oreos, like they've added 400 chemicals to it. These are not the same products anymore.
Yeah.
Now, our show is called The Peasant's Perspective. And one of the things I say at the beginning of the show, and I recognize that I misstate words regularly. I leave S's off the end. Okay.
And I don't correct you.
Huh?
I don't correct you.
It's good because you'd be correcting me constantly.
I know.
Realize that word. My brain is obviously running faster than my mouth, but there's a scene there where I say, when the kings and queens go riding by, but it comes out kings and kings. When the kings and queens go riding by, we're the peasants in the background, right? We're the guys that are off in the blacksmith shop pounding away on horseshoes. We're the people that are picking carrots to take to market. Like we're just the people that have to live here, no matter who's in charge. So when the kings and queens ride by, it's like, great, there's something. So I find it fascinating because England still lives under this monarchy. They still have this, holding them up on a pedestal, whatever that means.
I know they're getting a different flavor of whatever we're getting.
Yeah. We kind of are highly involved in our
We're
politics.
getting the Neapolitan version and they're getting the Spumoni version.
There you go. So here's a modern day version of the kings and queens go walking by, and we're like on the sidelines watching it. So this is yesterday in England. This Epstein thing is rocking the royal family.
Charles, how long have you been there?
So this is so as you guys know, you can't hardly ever hear them when there's loud crowds on the podcast. But this is King Charles walking through the crowd, and in the background, King Charles, how long have you known about Epstein and Andrew? He's being heckled by his own people walking down. I think, historically, when that starts happening to the kings and queens, when they go out into public and start getting heckled, bad things usually follow.
Mm-hmm.
Bad things usually follow. The whole Epstein thing. Now, I didn't talk about this yesterday because there was so much to cover. But there was on August 9th, and if you remember, Jeffrey Epstein died on August 10th. And on August 9th, Jeffrey Epstein was still alive. He was still in his cell. He was still, meeting with his attorneys and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But someone in the Southern District of New York, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman, drafted a four immediate release file here. And it was on Friday, August 9th. Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman said, quote, this is a quote that was prepared on August 9th. This is not a hoax. This has been confirmed.
Well, it was published August 9th. It could have been prepared before that.
It was in their computers.
Okay.
So this got released because everything that touched Epstein got dumped in these files. So this is one of we're getting all the tips and all that stuff. It's like getting a bunch of discovery. So this is one of the things, it's part of the case file. So you open up the case file and there's a for immediate release draft notice.
With a quote.
Earlier this morning, August 9th. The Manhattan Correctional Center confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein, who faced charges brought by this office of engaging in sex trafficking of minors, has been found unresponsive in his cell and pronounced dead shortly thereafter. Today's events are disturbing, and we are deeply aware of their potential to present yet another hurdle to giving Epstein's many victims their day in court. To those brave young women who have already come forward and to the many others who have yet to do so, let me reiterate that we remain committed to standing with you in our investigation of the conduct charged in the indictment, which included a conspiracy count, remains ongoing. Okay.
Weird.
That's a weird quote because the next day when he actually died, they updated it. So here's the August 10th one. Earlier this morning, the Manhattan Correctional Center confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein, who faced charges brought by this office of engaging in sex trafficking of minors, had been found unresponsive and was pronounced dead shortly thereafter of an apparent suicide.
It's the same damn letter.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's pronounced dead shortly thereafter.
Oh.
It's pronounced dead shortly thereafter of an apparent suicide.
Oh. Huh. Weird.
They killed Jeffrey Epstein. This confirms what I alleged yesterday. They planned it. They came into his cell. Patrick Burns said a foreign government had gas that came in that got the guards that were on duty to fall asleep, the whole thing. And then they came in, did this. They were prepped. August 9th, they had a draft statement with a quote in their files. There's the metadata. It was created on August 9th. Epstein was alive in his cell, living a life, awaiting trial. August 10th. Oh, hey, that draft that we prepared yesterday, add of apparent suicide and go ahead and hit publish. They never thought this would come out. This is a smoking gun.
Absolutely.
This Jeffrey S. Berman, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. This is horrendous. You don't think your government lies to you? Here it is, right here. You're staring at it.
You need to subpoena
They prepared a death announcement for a living man.
They need to subpoena
before
this guy.
he decided to hang himself, as if they could project into the next day that this would happen. Are you awake yet? You think it was easy for me to walk through prison knowing shit like this happens? You want to know the stories that I heard about 4-point harnesses, getting detained in the warden's office for days on end? I mean, the stuff that goes on inside of prison can hardly be spoken. when you've got U.S. attorneys' offices that are drafting suicide announcements the day before the suicide happens, I'd nay call it a suicide. I would nay call it a suicide. Here's another one. Looks like hard confirmation that the FBI knowingly wiped the footage from Epstein's prison. Holy crap. So let's see if we can read this here. On March 12th, 2020, date of birth, blah, blah, blah. So that's identifying who it was. Blank advised that the only one hard drive of the camera system was working at the time of the incident on August 10th, 2019, when a DVR went bad. None of the cameras recorded. There was a system failure of the DVR2 on July 19th, 2019, and the motherboard failed on DVR2 on August 8th, 2019. The hard drive failure occurred on August 10th, 2019. He recalled that there was a body alarm around 6 a.m. on August 10th, 2019. A body alarm is where guards have radios. Okay, these are specialized radios. And if the radio turns horizontal, because it's on your belt, so if you get knocked on your back or if that thing turns horizontal, it alarms every guard. Their thing goes off, and then the watchtower says which one went off and where they're located. And I've seen it happen because I had a CO in the wood shop who tripped once, and about 45 seconds later, there were 19 guards in the wood shop getting ready to pound our brains in, and all he did was trip. Okay. There was another CO that did this so often that his radio would fall out and fall over, and there'd be a body alarm, and everybody would come running. I mean, it was like intense. That we actually made him a wooden dummy radio in the wood shop. Perfect mock-up, painted everything. Perfect mock-up. And they did it as the whole game, like, you know, it's like the show where with Mark Wahlberg and where he does the table pop and shoots his gun inside. So they take his gun and they give him a wooden gun and a rape whistle. It was like that. I was like, you can't have that radio because you keep running the body alarm. So a body alarm went off. The MCC personnel who responded stated that he was one of the personnel who briefly tried to resuscitate Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. After the incident, it was asked about the cameras. There were 2 new hard drives to install, but installing the new hard drives would mean the prior data would be lost. The warden wanted video, and so Blank was told to start working on the system. Blank started removing the hard drives in order to rebuild the DVR. Blank advised that an FBI agent was the one who pulled out the DVR. Blank also advised that they knew that by replacing the hard drives, the system would be wiped out, and he advised personnel at the MCC of that. Hey, if you swap out that hard drive while it's running, you'll lose all the data that's on it. Yeah, no, we want to do that. We just had a guy die in that cell block yesterday. We should probably preserve the evidence. Let's go ahead and replace the hard drive. Wow, that's coincidental. That's interesting.
You know, I also don't believe that. You know, I also have a server with hard drives in it right over there making noise. And when you pull one of those hard drives out, it just keeps running. And the other hard drive has a copy of everything on that hard drive.
So you got 2 hard drives?
Yeah.
I think what he's saying here is they pulled them both.
If you pull them both, you're still fine because the data stays on those hard drives. So this is, I don't 100% believe this story.
These are like 1999 systems. They still work that same? Okay, well.
It's the same way. It's called a RAID system. And what a RAID system is, it has nothing to do with what we're doing. But it copies the data on the hard drives from hard drive. And if one of those hard drives is missing, it goes into a different way that it copies and writes the data. And so none of it ever gets lost. So I don't believe that this data got lost. I think that they're just using this as an excuse to not have data to look at.
Maybe. Here's another one where one of the guards wrote his report of the incident. He said, upon arriving at the MCC, Blank completed some tasks before Blank assigned him to the hospital on Park Row, which is separate from the main MCC building where Epstein's body was being guarded. When Blank arrived at the hospital with case management coordinator D. Blank, who was responsible for taking Epstein's fingerprints, COs Blank and Blank, that's correctional officers, were with Epstein's body and had secured the scene. Blank remained with the COs and Blank until personnel from the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, OCME, arrived to transport Epstein to their facility. Due to the large news media presence outside the MCC, a male OCME official called and said he would be arriving at the loading dock with a black vehicle in order to thwart the media. Blank and Blank and Blank used boxes and sheets to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into a white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. Oh, so you're still body doubling us, and you've got the decoy body, which just opens the conversation of where's the real body, or is he still alive? I'll hold the contention until I see evidence further. He is dead. And the misdirect that's happening right now that people like Alex Jones and many other pundits are biting on is that he's not dead and he's alive somewhere. I believe he's dead, but by you not thinking he didn't kill himself, you're not asking who killed him. That's the thing. They put a press release statement saying he was found unresponsive. There was intentions to run a murder, death. You know, they could have said he was stabbed, right? He was found unresponsive in himself. From what?
Right.
The next day, they updated the draft and added of apparent suicide. It's like prima facie evidence. Who in their right mind prepares a press release about a dead person that's not dead?
Right. Unless they're going to suicide them.
Or just take them out of there and call it a death.
Right.
Again, I mean, you have to hold open the possibilities. I believe that he's dead and that they're misdirecting us by making us look. It's the Elvis, you know, like
right.
There's literally going to be Epstein sightings from now to the end of time.
Right.
Right. Anybody who's got gray hair and looks halfway like him in a grainy photograph at a distance is like, Epstein's hanging out in Silverdale.
Hey, if there's some 20-year-old out there that wants to start a channel, you can start one right now that Epstein's still alive, and that could be your channel and that could be your thing.
That's
and
all you do. Is
just
go
do
out
deep
and get
dives.
lookalikes.
Just do deep dives every day on new videos.
Literally with latex masks, you can get an Epstein mask.
Yep.
And yes, you could absolutely do this. Epstein in the theater, Epstein at the restaurant, Epstein at the coffee shop. It's a Where's Waldo? Yeah, Ron, let's do it. Somebody listening to this podcast, please reach out to me. Let's do a joint venture together. And we're going to do the Where's Epstein channel. And it's going to be like a modern day Where's Waldo, where we're going to put YouTube videos of just random shots at the mall, at the food court. And it's going to be for people to put in the comments where the Epstein is. That's exactly what we're going to do. Ron, take a note, please. Write it down. Latex Epstein mask.
Got it.
Where's Epstein YouTube channel, where we just show video footage of public spaces with the Epstein mask person walking around, and that'll be the whole point, is for people to look at the YouTube videos, just like a Where's Waldo book, and find the Epstein. And in fact, we could even make it fun. We could have multiple Epsteins. Fat Epstein, Epstein with a hat, Epstein with the fake nose and mustache glasses. It's perfect.
If you find one of our Epsteins out in the wild, you could get prizes.
Huh?
If you find one of our Epsteins out in the wild, you could get prizes.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. If you come up on him, are you Epstein? Well, of course I am. Pull the mask off. I love it. And then it'll even be better. We'll pull the mask off, and below that mask will be a reptilian mask.
Oh, no. You got to pull off the Clinton mask first.
Yeah. The Clinton mask to the Epstein mask to the reptilian mask. Yeah. I love it. And then we'll pull it off, and it will just be Kristen Welker. I love it. All right. Frasier.
Uh-oh. Small technical difficulty.
Unplugged my microphone. Let's see here. God's Army Brat 9444. You need the clip of the section of the woman running as a Republican and post it with, does a two-party system exist? Yeah, that's a good idea.
Exactly.
Carlito, great setup for a tweet. Pony Boy, he's lucky guy to win the lottery also. I know. Yes. People don't know that. He won the lottery and put the money in the Zorro Trust, which is his trust, right?
Okay.
Yeah. No, $80 million he won in a lottery ticket. Wow. That guy is one of the luckiest guys. I mean, not only does he escape his own suicide attempt, Frasier, you should talk to your father. He knows about failed hard drives recovery and RAID systems. Epstein is with Elvis. I saw them the other day at Burger King. Exactly. I think that the Where's Epstein idea is $1 million idea. So I need some help. I'm going to have to get some front cash for the vinyl mask, but it's probably totally worth it. So in other news, and this is something that we have discussed for a long time in context with Epstein, but this idea that Donald Trump is the one who turned him in. We now have absolute confirmation Donald Trump is the one who turned him in. You're going to hear people say Donald Trump called the police after the fact. That's not what happened. Okay, so there's this report from 2019 of a police officer who's being interviewed about Epstein's prior case. Okay. And I have it somewhere. The page one of this explains it. But basically, this is the report. Trump knew Epstein was disgusting. Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative and, quote, she is evil, and to focus on her. Trump told Blank that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present and Trump got the hell out of there. Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out that they were investigating Epstein, and he was the tipster. No one could explain how Epstein made his money. They knew he worked for Bear Stearns. Blank was told that Epstein was kind of a technical guy and that would make it happen, but you didn't want to know how. None of the Epsteins that PBPD, that's Palm Beach Police Department, spoke with said they had sexual contact with men other than Epstein while in Epstein's orbit, and the one went out screaming. Prince Andrew was a fixture in Palm Beach, but and he had no protection, as in security, while there. Blank has done interviews in the past with Blank people victims that PBD was paid off by Epstein, which was Blank went to and did these interviews. He felt he needed to defend the police department. An interior designer told the police department that rooms in the Virgin Islands had been decorated for teenage girls. Blank contacted the Virgin Island Police Department, but they were not helpful. In the end, Epstein had turned himself in to plea to the misdemeanor and was not notified and found out from the newspaper. Anyway, so Trump was the informant, which we found out during the first big dump of Epstein stuff when Michael Wolff, the Trump hater who's written a couple books about Trump and was coordinating with Jeffrey Epstein to dig up dirt on Donald Trump, said this.
Epstein believed that Donald Trump went to the Palm Beach police and said, Jeffrey Epstein has young girls at his house, thereby beginning the legal process, which would ultimately bring Jeffrey Epstein down.
Makes perfect sense. Now, which video is that? Hold on a second. I might be out of order on my queue here, which is not unusual.
I was just reading that Fraser comment again. Epstein is with Elvis. I saw them the other day at Burger King. Did you already read that?
I saw them the other day at Burger King. Yeah. Here it is. Okay. So Alan Dershowitz is all over these Epstein files. He was Epstein's attorney. And there's been allegations that he did this, did that. The biggest thing was Virginia Giuffre, who included Alan Dershowitz in her accusations. And then Virginia Giuffre recanted those allegations.
Okay.
Which creates a lot of problems because now it's like, well, what other allegations are you going to recant when put under pressure? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Is there money involved?
I don't know. So okay. I don't know. Now, Alan Dershowitz has long held Trump wasn't involved. He holds opinions that Epstein wasn't a pedophile. I don't know, right? But here's one thing that this post says, and I like this. This comes from the Rubber Duck 79. Remember Alan Dershowitz went on live on TV in 2019 and sang like a canary about what was dropped last weekend. Alan Dershowitz was one of the first to capitulate to Trump during his public term, which is the reason he successfully defended Trump in impeachment 21. Number one, this interview was 2019, right after Epstein was arrested and Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, resigned in shame after Trump put the spotlight on him as he was the one that gave Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2019, the U.S. attorney. Scripted. The whole thing looked scripted. Dershowitz popped up on flight logs. So this is him getting ahead of the story and going on TV and stating he had evidence of videotape showing Bill and Hillary Clinton having sex with underage girls and other elites being handcuffed and put in jail. Here you go. This is Dershowitz talking about it, and then everything Trump has said about it leading up to it. This is the part that all the hoaxsters, the Epstein hoaxsters, when Trump says Epstein's a hoax, it's because Trump's the one who turned in Epstein. Trump's the one who made sure that he got prosecuted for the real deal this time. Trump's the one who went out to the people that were in his orbit and flipped them and unburdened them from having to do Maxwell's or Epstein's bidding, including Alan Dershowitz, as it says, the first to capitulate, to give to Trump everything he needed to know. This is what happened, and this is one of the reasons why they hate him so much, and they must smear Trump with Epstein.
The woman who wrote to the New York Post claiming she had videotapes of Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton having underage girls. Their emails are secret, but that prove there'll be prominent people in handcuffs. Prominent people in handcuffs. Once these emails come out.
It's about stopping human trafficking. Human trafficking is a big business, a big deal. Dealing in children is a big deal. Children are probably the most harmed. They grab them, they put tape over their mouth, they tie their hands, and they take them to another country. We have things happening that you don't want to even know about. And it's been that way for decades, so we can't have it anymore.
It names names. These people are going to go to jail once these emails come out. A woman who wrote to the New York Post claiming she had videotapes of
these people are going to jail when this stuff comes out, right? That was early on. That was the initial.
What was the year on that?
2019.
Okay.
That was when Epstein was arrested. That was like, and Trump was saying those things beforehand. So these guys have coordinated taking down Epstein. Now, there's this hoax. What is the Epstein hoax? What is the Epstein hoax? I'm going to reveal something to you guys, my audience right now, that has been patently obvious to anybody who's paid attention to this. I have sympathies for underage kids who get wrapped up in this stuff and get involved in trafficking. Unfortunately, my sympathy has to end when you turn 18. That's just the way the law works. Once you turn 18, you're supposed to have some accountability. You're supposed to have a moral compass, supposed to know what's right or wrong. And Thomas Massey and Lauren Boebert and MTG and others and Rokana rallied around these victims of Jeffrey Epstein, these women, these people that were victimized by him. Victims. They were victims, Ron. These women were victims. And so one of the things that the redaction scheme, based on the law that they created and passed, was that you could redact the name of victims. So in all these documents that have been released, the problem now is being presented as the DOJ redacted names of perpetrators. Okay. Perpetrators. These are perpetrators and these names are redacted. So are they redacting these names to avoid embarrassment? Are they redacting these names because there's ongoing criminal prosecution, which Todd Blanche has kind of alleged there's not? Why did they redact the names? Victims have accused other alleged victims of not being victims, but being traffickers. Right. This is the Ghislaine Maxwell saying she was a victim of Epstein.
Right.
Were you? This is the, if you're over 18 and you're a victim of Epstein and then you go out and procure girls, are you still a victim?
Right. All of a sudden, everybody's a victim.
So this is Lauren Boebert coming out of the SCIF, having reviewed documents.
Congresswoman, are you among the members who got to see the unredacted files today?
Yes, I saw some of them, not all of them, obviously. I'll be going back tomorrow to see more.
Any reaction on what you've seen so far?
I think that there's folks who are definitely implicated and co-conspirators. And, I don't think everyone there that was talking about underage girls being trafficked are victims.
So they redacted names of people talking about underage girls, and they're not victims.
Got it. And do you support any clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? She was saying that she
I
was...
do not.
Okay.
I think Ghislaine Maxwell should get more time, and she should definitely be in a harsher prison than what she's in. It's absolutely disgusting.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
That makes sense. Ghislaine Maxwell testified yesterday, and she just pled the fifth straight across the board. Just every question. What's your name? Plead the fifth. So now here's what she's talking about. This is Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who highlights this email to Jeffrey Epstein Estate Vacation. That's what JEE stands for. Sent to, and it's from, thank you for the fun last night, ... Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Sent from my iPhone. And Lauren Boebert points out this name that's redacted is not a victim. And guess what? It's a woman. It's one of these women that stood behind Massey and MTG and said, release the files, release the files.
Now, is she a person that was underage when she first got involved, and so she could claim victim status?
Oh, doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't matter to you right now, but I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of how you could possibly figure out how to claim a status so that you could get your name redacted, legitimately, quote unquote, and be able to avoid all of the nonsense by having your name wiped out.
This is the hoax.
Yes.
This is the hoax, folks. This is turned in from a who's a victim, who's a perpetrator hoax into why did you redact this name hoax? And that's what we're going to see from Thomas Massey and Rokana. Why is this name redacted? Why did the DOJ redact this name? That's the hoax. The hoax is the misdirect to put the attention on the DOJ for having done something wrong, right, for having over redacted these documentations. Here's Anna Paulina Luna being asked about this.
And are you able to see the DOJ unredacted versions?
I'm going to be going tomorrow. There's I think every member of oversight has gone through so far, or is going to be going through so far. So yes.
But tomorrow will be your first time?
No, my second.
Okay. Is there anything you can share from what you saw today?
I've posted about it publicly, but some of the people that are in the most egregious redactions are claiming to be victims, and I don't think that they're victims if you're engaging in child sex trafficking.
Got it.
There you go.
There you go. You've been claiming to be victims, but you are absolutely engaged in child sex trafficking, and you're using victimhood status to protect yourself.
Right.
And your women. And the DOJ probably just redacted all the women's names because they've overblown this status of victim. And keep in mind what happened as soon as these files got released, those same victims that were clamoring for the release want them resealed. Why? Because maybe they forgot that they had sent an email saying, that little girl was naughty. Oh, I'm not a victim. When reality hits you in the face, it's like reality hit me in the face. I touched a cop. You touched a cop. The election doesn't matter. The votes don't matter. You did a thing. Reality. Oh, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Yeah, but you're victimizing. Maybe you're not Jeffrey Epstein, but you're supposed to be of the age of accountability, right? And so here it is again. Let's just play it again.
Are you able to see the DOJ unredacted versions?
I'm going to be going tomorrow. There's I think every member of oversight has gone through so far, or is going to be going through so far. So yes.
But tomorrow will be your first time?
No, my second.
Okay. Is there anything you can share from what you saw today?
I've posted about it publicly, but some of the people that are in the most egregious redactions are claiming to be victims, and I don't think that they're victims if you're engaging in child sex trafficking.
Got it.
Now, when we listen to Ro Khanna, and we listen to Thomas Massie, notice how they change it. If Lauren Boebert and Luna saw rich billionaire men's names, they're not claiming to be victims. Lex Wexner, who seems to be a fixation of Massie yesterday, has never claimed to be a victim. But his name was redacted in a few spots, but unredacted in other spots, which probably just means it was an open case or something like that. But notice how Massie focuses on the men, whereas these ones are like, if you're claiming to be a victim, no men have claimed to be a victim.
Questions. You mentioned that there are some things that have been redacted that probably shouldn't have been redacted.
Yeah.
Is there anything, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, 6 men's names. One of them's listed as a co-conspirator. Why would you redact his name?
6 men's name. Why would you redact his name? So is this about prosecution, or is this about going after the DOJ and impeaching Pam Bondi and Trump's people who he needs to use to clean up the election fraud? Why would they not redact the names? You're making a whole lot of noise, Massie and Ro Khanna, about the DOJ's actions here. Name the fucking names. And then when you do, you name Lex Wexner? We know Lex Wexner's involved.
Yeah.
This isn't new. Oh, but why didn't they unredact his name? Because he was unredacted in a bunch of other places.
Right.
There's not victim. What I'm saying is, it's not just victims' names that they've redacted.
And how can we get those names then? Like the public generally.
Well, I'm hopeful the DOJ will release them now that I've pointed it out to them. We've either got to say, okay, we made a mistake, or we're not going to unredact that.
Okay. And are you going to be going back to see? I know like there's sort of like a procession now of members who are going.
Yeah, I'm scheduled for tomorrow morning too.
Okay. And what are you going to look into tomorrow that you haven't looked into today?
It just takes a while. There's millions of files. I've still got files on my list to look at.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you, Congressman.
So Massie's focused on the co-conspirators that are not redacted, because Massie's point on this is to go after the DOJ. I don't believe Massie wants justice for these victims. I mean, Lauren Boebert and Luna both clearly, in my opinion, implied that the females who have claimed to be victims.
I know, that was really weird. How
what was the word Anna Paulina used? Most egregious emails. The most Hey, nice torture video. Probably one of the girls. Hey, the one was really naughty. One of the girls. They're claiming to be victims. Massie looks, in my opinion, when you see that, he's like, how do I play this? How do I play this? I took up for them, which is fine. But now they're the perpetrators, and now I'm going to go target the people who've been unredacted forever. How many times have I said Victoria's Secret was that she was trafficked because Lex Wexner's involved?
An example of something, maybe it wasn't intentional on their part. I'd like to hear his take on the redaction of the CEO, who's listed as a co-conspirator in the 2019 child sex trafficking case.
So can I ask you, because, and I want to ask if this is the same person, Todd Blanche also said about that tonight that the document you're citing there has victim names in it.
Correct.
Seeming to say that's why there are redactions. He said, we have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name already appears in the file.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So Thomas Massey kept going in and saying, well, what about this person? And Todd Blanche, he's clearly been assigned to babysit Massey and make sure that he cuts Massey off on any corner from having a wedge to hurt Trump, was like, oh yeah, unredacted that real quick. Oh yeah, we'll unredact that real quick. Because, and then he goes on to say, you know, we have just unredacted Lex Wexner's name from the document, but his name already appears in the files thousands of times. DOJ is hiding nothing. They're not protecting Wexner by accidentally redacting it here. Now, here's the other thing we found out. These documents already came redacted from the Southern District of New York because they've been open case files for a decade now, or 6-7 years now. So they've been redacted for various purposes, and clearly the DOJ just assumed some of these redactions. So Thomas Massey, this well-known retired CEO who has been one of the ongoing people in this conversation, you have revealed nothing. Yeah. You have not advanced this narrative 1 inch. But oh boy, have you pointed the finger at the DOJ. You want to impeach these people because why? Because they redacted his name on a single document when he appeared thousands of times elsewhere.
Well, thousands of other times. And he says the Justice Department is hiding nothing. Is that the retired CEO that you're referencing?
It is. He unredacted it after I found it. That's a problem. And I'm glad they've admitted.
Why are you wasting airtime here? I'm back to this. We joke about it.
Thanks, Tommy.
Massey, you're not showing your best face here. You're not showing your best face here. Tell us about one we don't know. Right. Don't give us the list of people we already know. We already know Lex Wexner was involved with Epstein. Epstein managed his estate. And his name's everywhere. Right. You're using this to get airtime. And she just called you out. Caitlin Collins was like, is it Lex Wexner, the CEO? Say his fucking name. It's not a secret, Massey.
He's like, yo, the sky is blue. They told us it was green, but I let them know. It's like, oh, thanks, man.
So you're saying it was redacted when you went in there today, and after you tweeted that, they unredacted it?
Correct. Now he's got 4 other names he needs to unredact. Did he respond to that? There's a list of 20 people. And there's 4 men in there that need to be unredacted. Here's another troubling thing that I found.
Hold on.
Can you just tell us who they are?
Wait, hold on. There's a list of 19 people, and there are 4 men. Epstein, 1, 2, 3, 4. That leaves 15 women that are co-conspirators. Anna Paulina Luna and Boebert have both implied that people claiming to be victims are traffickers, abusers. They do not deserve our support. Who are the 15 women, Ron?
I don't know.
That is a good question. Why are they redacted? Well, because Massey and these people gave them victim status. Because this is a hoax. This is a Democrat hoax to paint over their crimes and try to just find any connection to Trump.
Yep.
But those victims, the ones who cry the loudest, are the traffickers themselves. Why wouldn't you? This is classic projection. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's all his fault. Yeah. Unredact the 4 men's names. But what about the other co-conspirators? He's not even asking.
Right.
Because why? Because you took up with them. Because you broke bread with them. Because you got on their wagon. You hitched your wagon to their shooting star.
Can you say who those 4 men are tonight?
I don't think they're well known. And so if I did, it wouldn't matter, but I could probably say them on the floor of the House. But I'll give the DOJ a chance to do what they did in these 2 examples, where I've discovered something and now they've responded.
I should have prepared it, but I'm pretty sure Todd Blanche goes straight through his, if you see his Twitter, it's Todd Blanche, just following up. Pretty sure he exposed all the names. Like, these are all names that were elsewhere in the files, right? It's like, oh yeah, we didn't. Yeah, that's grand jury information. It kind of came that way. You know what I mean? Notice how the only unredacted names are Maxwell and Epstein. Now, again, the victims, they're getting away with this. They're getting away with this. And this is what's happened. All these years, Ron, you were saying, the people who are the whistleblowers end up getting punished. So people who investigated Pizzagate die by suicide. Superstar DJ Avicii found dead after exposing the pedophile ring.
Oh my God.
Famous Argentina model who made whistleblower researched on elite pedophile ring in Argentina, named top politicians and Pope Benedict in a live TV show, killed. How much longer until they kill me, says Andrew Breitbart. Or if a heart attack or car accident or frame me for a crime, read me while you can. Now, if you go look at what he wrote, he was constantly talking about John Podesta being a horrific trafficker. Model who exposed the elite pedophile ring found dead after tweet predicting she'd be killed. Filmmaker known for her documentary series, The Fall of the Cabal, has been confirmed as dead by suicide. Isaac Cappy, named Hollywood pedophiles, dead. Now, people who debunk Pizzagate, these are the people who write articles debunking Pizzagate. John Podesta's friend who debunked Pizzagate, arrested for raping toddlers. Award-winning ABC journalist, by the way, who this guy was the producer for Jake Tapper and all these shows on CNN and ABC. He was at CNN before that. Award-winning ABC journalist who debunked Pizzagate pleads guilty in horrific child porn case. He went on the run for a while.
Oh boy.
Okay, here's one. CNN producer sentenced to 19 years for sickening child sex crimes. Tech reporter Peter Bright found guilty for soliciting minors for sex online. Left-wing Ars Technica journalist Dr. Pizza convicted of pedophilia offense. So if you investigate and expose it, you get suicided. If you debunk it, you're a pedophile.
Okay.
That was one of the things I learned in prison. Never defend a chomo. Never defend a chomo. Okay.
You might need to tell people what that means.
Child molester. That's prison slang for child molester. Chomo.
There you go.
Chomo. All right. Steve Bannon and Epstein had quite the connection. Obviously, we know Steve Bannon, in the Trump administration, Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein were talking during the campaign. Now, you have to understand Steve Bannon's background, right? He went to Harvard. He's got all the degrees. He worked in high finance, Bear Stearns or Goldman Sachs or whatever it was. He's participated in a lot of different campaigns. He's a sleazy, dirty political operative.
And we love him.
I say that lovingly because he's my spirit animal. Okay? I say that lovingly because he's my spirit animal. Like, he's a sleazy, dirty operative by any measure.
Okay.
But he's also one of the more influential people in the country right now, clearly. So here's a little interesting exchange between Epstein and Bannon. And I've been through a lot of these text message exchanges, and I don't find anything particularly nefarious on Bannon's end. I kind of see him just keeping Epstein on the line. Does that make sense? Which very well could have been, there's this proposal that Bannon is a consistent double agent. Like, if you want to get dirt on Trump, you go to Bannon, and Bannon kind of plays either Trump or plays you. Does that make sense? Like, he's always the double agent.
Yeah.
So this is Epstein saying to Bannon, live by the tape, die by the tape. What's the tape? What does that mean? That's,
I don't know.
Reality. It's on tape. You live by the tape, you die by the tape.
There you go.
Along with some other tidbits, this is Epstein writing, I was shown a photo of Macron's boyfriend. Hypocrisy. Hey, Candace Owens. I think you might be right. So Steve Bannon says, is that true? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Quote, the soldier. So there were rumors that Macron had a gay lover that was a soldier. And then Epstein writes back, it gives new meaning to, no worry, I have your back. And then, remember, the French stand behind you. Yuck. When is the next cut of Made in Vietnam? And Bannon says, coming soon, got announced today. So there's trade deals. Let's talk about strategy as November looks more problematic. You don't want to spend your time in front of a committee. So that's pretty interesting. What is this here? It is weird. Anyways, pretty interesting exchange. So there's Macron and his wife.
Okay.
Who will not take a DNA swab to prove she's a girl. Seems the easiest thing. So right. This is my opinion on Bannon. I share this exact same opinion as this gentleman right here, who is Julian Dory. Okay, I've never heard of his podcast before, but I saw this clip.
Oh, he's great.
Is he?
Yeah.
Totally worth sharing. Maybe we should connect.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like he'd be a guy that we could go on.
Dude,
and on
he's got a show that for somehow has exploded. And, I can't help but think that if we weren't taken off the air, we would be way past him.
Yeah, because he's episode 381.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. And also clips and editing helps a little bit, which by the way, if anybody out there knows anybody who can do clips and editing, please, and they want to do it as a labor of love,
just do
contact us. Yeah, just do it. Okay. So this is his take on Bannon. I agree wholeheartedly. These very words could have come out of my mouth.
Because I have told people for years that I think Steve Bannon is the most dangerous known man in America. I've said that. It has nothing to do with his politics. Nothing to do with his politics. But he is not a media guy. This is someone, I don't know what or for who. I can't really put my finger on it, but this is an intelligence person. 100%. Most of the time, as in 99.999999999% of the time, when some fucking content creator or commentator is accused of being a spy, they're not. They're all some level of a useful idiot. We all are at some point. Okay. Some just all the time and some once in a while when you don't catch it. It's just a part of being in the business. They're not spies, though. Even people that you revile and you're certain are, they're not. Steve Bannon is. I have been clear on this for years. And that was a good take. A really good take.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. So he's, I don't know. He's one guy I've never been able to say, oh, this, that, yeah, that. But something. He, you know what I would describe him as? He's a Robert Maxwell type character. That's how I describe him.
Yeah.
You know, doing a lot of work in a lot of places.
Yep, for a lot of people.
A lot of work for a lot of places. That's true. And that's the thing that makes Epstein really interesting. He does know a lot of people. He's tied into a lot of people. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
What are his motivations? Honestly, because of having been to prison, he didn't capitulate. He held strong on his charges. He did not believe that January 6th committee was committed. And he has supported the election fraud and given Mike Lindell a platform. And he was banned. Remember, they were not on any of the social media channels. They had to basically run their own broadcast. Doug Wyatt is saying here, I sure enjoyed the Steve Bannon civics class at Danbury. Doug Wyatt, my dear, dear friend from prison, was in prison with Steve Bannon and took a civics class from him. Hey, Doug, compare and contrast me from Steve Bannon. Where do you think we are? Do Steve Bannon and I need to get together and have a little chat? Anyways, I think Steve Bannon is very sincere. Steve Bannon yesterday had his conviction overturned. This is a big deal. In a stunning reversal, the Department of Justice seeks to dismiss Steve Bannon's conviction and indictment. In a stunning reversal, the U.S. Justice Department on Monday asked the Supreme Court and federal judge to dismiss the criminal contempt indictment and conviction of Steve Bannon for refusing to testify in the January 6th investigation by Congress, declaring such a request is in the interest of justice after years of politically weaponized lawfare by Democrats. The move by DOJ is extremely rare, but not unprecedented, considering Steve Bannon was already convicted and served time in prison. The government has determined in its prosecutorial discretion that dismissal of the crime in this case is in the interest of justice, Solicitor John Sauer wrote in a brief to 9 justices who were reviewing the case. The government accordingly lodged a motion to have it dismissed, the indictment with prejudice, so it can't be brought again. The filing noted the law allows the government to seek dismissal of cases that they brought inappropriately. Of course, after sending a man to prison, which, you know, a lesser man than Steve Bannon might not have made it. Could have destroyed their lives and everything about it.
Yeah.
Doug Wyatt says, would have been fun if you took that class for sure. That would have been great. Today, the Department of Justice said told the Supreme Court Steve Bannon's conviction arising from the J6 committee's improper subpoena should be vacated. Blanche said, under the leadership of Attorney Pram-Bondi, we will continue to undo the prior administration's weaponization.
This is pretty strong language. This is a very strong action. I mean, that should tell you something.
Yeah. And, you know, yeah. Now, Peter Navarro had the same charges. Peter Navarro has essentially asked the DOJ not to dismiss his charges because he's working on actually getting it good law and good case precedent to provide executive immunity, right, for advisors of the president. Okay. Steve Bannon was in a unique situation because he was out of government. So he potentially could have, during January 6th, so he potentially could have had to testify for things where he was not in working for the president. Does that make sense? Peter Navarro was in the cabinet. He was an executive advisor. So he's got a little bit of different case law that needs to be adjudicated. And along with this whole J6 thing, as we know, it was a Fedsurrection. It doesn't mean that individuals didn't take individual actions that day, clearly. But what we're finding out now is something that I found out when I was in DC in the Gulag. There was a guard there who was a Muslim man. And I thought he was a hater. Okay. He had tattoos everywhere on the back of his head, and he had earrings and nose rings and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And on the and a tongue ring. It's interesting.
Colorful.
On the back of his head, he had "Get thee behind me, Satan," Psalms, and then whatever the scripture was. He's bald, literally tattooed on the back of his head. Okay. When I say you couldn't tell the difference between inmates and guards except for the uniform, I mean it. Like some of the guards were as tatted in all the weird places the inmates get tatted. So I actually thought he was like a Christian because he had a Bible verse on his head. Apparently he's a Muslim man who owns a distillery and sells alcohol to the infidels. He doesn't drink alcohol, but no reason I can't profit off selling it to you. He's never tasted his own whiskey. Let's put it that way. So anyways, he and I got talking, and we got to be pretty good associates, like surprisingly enough. And one of the things he shared with me, and he had shared this with other inmates as well, which is kind of how the discussion got started, was that Donald Trump in the COVID relief bill that happened in 2020, the summer, that January 6th funding was already in there, that they had money to do the cells, and it specifically cited January 6 events and stuff like that. So we were like, oh my gosh, this ran deep. Well, now we have absolute proof and confirmation that Christopher Wray and other prominent Democrats, as they were putting a bill on Trump's desk to be signed, that was essentially loading the gun that would be used to shoot back at Trump on January 6th, they were doing tabletop exercise planning January 6th.
And we start tonight with what we do best, breaking some news. We have some new bombshell revelations to get to about the weaponization of the Department of Justice in the lead up to the 2020 election. Just the News has obtained documents that show that the FBI actually conducted a secret tabletop exercise in summer 2020 that imagined what sort of violence might ensue in a contested presidential election that year. Now, that's important because remember, the FBI said they had no inkling that there might be violence at January 6th, but their tabletop exercise showed they not only imagined it, they identified some players and devised strategies like undercover informants and mass prosecutions for minor crimes. That's exactly what they did. After January 6th, they had the playbook written for months. They had those informants in the crowd. They had those informants in the groups. They just simply failed to pass on the most important intelligence that was coming in there. That's something that Chairman Barry Loudermilk of the House January 6th Committee is going to come on and talk about in the second block of the show. Now, the memo showed the Bureau's Boston office led the tabletop exercise in cold open source intelligence on the potential for violence from both left-leaning anarchists and right-leaning extremists. The memos also warned that foreign enemies like Iran and China are likely to foment domestic violence in the U.S. Remember when we would talk about that and people say that's a conspiracy theory? The FBI actually believed it. They actually were very concerned. Now, these documents were never turned over to Congress under the watch of FBI Director Chris Wray, the former FBI director, but they were turned over by Kash Patel, the current director, in the last few days, and we got a set of them, and we've been talking about that today. It's one of the big trending stories over at Just the News.
So they saw it coming and planned it. You could have given us a heads up. You gave us a heads up, or we're getting ready to give us a heads up about Epstein dying a day before he did. It seems like you could have drafted a press release. Unbelievable amount of violence on January 6th. You could have published it on the 4th. I'd have canceled my flight.
Yeah. Or at least left your megaphone home.
These guys are so good at predicting our calamity. You know what I mean? It's almost like they planned this stuff. It's crazy. All right. We are just about to do a raid. So hold on. Not quite yet. We're just about to do a raid. We're going to jump over into private. I want to tease you with what we're doing over there. So if you're a subscriber to Rumble, you get to stick with us going into premium. If you're not, then when we go into private, you just get a blank screen. Okay. So we would love for you guys to click through our link. And if you are going to subscribe to Rumble and become a premium subscriber, I think it's like $8 a month. I provide a minimum of 5 hours of private streaming content to that. I will give you the cheat code. Everybody listening needs to go and download this podcast on a audio app, as in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure you download the entire library, at least the first time you download. That gives me a lot of credits. We are on the verge. Our audio podcast audience is almost bigger than our video podcast. If we add it all up, we're right about 50-50. I have no idea why it has taken so long for our audio audience to grow, but we're starting to get a little bit of momentum. Please subscribe on audio somewhere and set it to auto download. That would be wonderful. Okay, everybody, go do it. I seem to have a separate audience between the two. Those of you that listen to audio, you get an extra little bonus because what we say on premium gets uploaded to the audio version. So if you're watching the video version and you got the premium, you got to subscribe to Premium Rumble. If you're an audio subscriber, you get the whole thing. If you enjoy us live and you just can't do the subscription, also do the audio and you can catch the premium. Okay, so please do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to do a raid and head on over to wherever Ron sends you there. So if you're heading off there, go say hi. You're going to the InfoWars channel and Alex Jones Network. I hope they've got stuff going on. They've got about 50 people streaming over there. Go say hi and invite people over there that are watching to join us on Peasants Perspective. And those of you, you get to go watch Brianna Morello. She's doing a great job. Go for it, Ron.
There you go.
Send them away. Come back if you want. Okay, great. Yes, I see over here. Peasants Perspective has rated this channel. Hello. We love InfoWars and American Journal, which is what's streaming right now.
Keep fighting for those hetero frogs.
Hetero frogs. In fact, Doug was known as the info sprayer because he wore an InfoWars hat and then sprayed a tear gas gun at the Capitol. So he was the info sprayer.
Info sprayer.
Yeah. Okay. So something interesting did happen also yesterday. Donald Trump posted this. He said, as everyone knows, Canada has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. Now things are turning around for the USA and fast. But imagine Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. They own. How did Canada end up owning both sides of the Canadian and the United States side? We gave away land. That doesn't make any sense. And of course, built it with virtually no U.S. content. President Barack Hussein Obama stupidly gave them a waiver so they could get around the Buy America Act and not use any American products, including our steel. Now the Canadian government expects me as president of the United States to permit them to just take advantage of America. What does the United States of America get? Absolutely nothing. Ontario won't even put U.S. spirits, beverages, and other alcoholic products on their shelves, and they are absolutely prohibited from doing so now on top of everything else. Prime Minister Carney wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We'll just get the leftovers. I don't think so. The next thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada. Now, I don't think that's true, but I imagine there's a lot of Canadian ice hockey fans that are like, is that true?
What? What?
China? Is China going to cut off ice hockey? And permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. The tariffs Canada charges us for our dairy products have for many years. By the way, as far as persuasion goes, this is important. You might think China's not going to get rid of the Stanley Cup. What would they care? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
If you're a hockey fan and you're like, did Trump say that? Are they really going to do it?
It's just agitation.
But what's happening is now you're talking about the China deal.
Right.
A hockey fan doesn't know about the China deal.
Right.
But when the hockey fan has hockey threatened and they're like, oh, but don't worry, it's not going to be threatened. Well, what was he threatening it over? A China deal. We're doing deals with China.
Right.
Trump has this great thing like that, not necessarily true or verifiable, but everybody's going to talk about it.
Yep.
And in the back of their minds, what's the context is China deal, China deal, China deal.
Right. It creates real leverage.
This is why Scott Adams says he's so persuasive. The first thing China do will eliminate the ice hockey. The tariffs Canada charges us for our dairy products have, for many years, been unacceptable, putting our farmers at great financial risk, and I will not allow the bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. And also, importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve. We will start negotiations immediately. With all that we have given them, we should own perhaps at least half of this asset. The revenue generated because the U.S. market will be astronomical. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So there's a picture of the bridge from into Michigan. This is brilliant. Trump is brilliant the way he does this. Like, yes, this bridge, it's a small thing in the big scale of the U.S. economy, but he's going to use it as leverage because it's right about to open. And he's going to say, no, you just can't open it. I'm sorry. Just like all the other things that you guys have done to us, where you just shut us down at the last minute. You know, the Nord Stream pipeline, Nord Stream 2, that Biden just...
Well, I think what he would say is give us a reason to open it. I mean, you want to do some trade with us. Okay, that's a reason. But if we're not going to trade, why?
And you got to understand, in Canada, we got some real problems. Okay. So I love this interchange with all my heart. And it's a little slow, but I love this woman's accent, the way she says this so deliberately and concise. So she's talking to Mark Miller, they've got a bill in place that eliminates, or basically it makes the code the only thing applicable and gets rid of all other laws that Canada has in favor of this code. It's written there. So this is one of their legislators that's in a hearing asking the guy who's going to be empowered with this incredible power to basically just overrule 150 years of Canadian law. But again, does government tell the truth?
But why should one minister, individual minister, be allowed to bypass 150 years of Canadian laws and exempt a person or company of their choosing?
Yeah, look, that may be your view, but I don't think that is what's happening.
Well, that's how it's written.
It doesn't say people are being exempted from 150 years of law.
It says from any federal law except the criminal code.
Right. There's no mention of years or.
It's any federal law except for the so it's any federal law that has been passed over the last 150 years.
Right. I'm not going to parse this out with you.
So just to be clear, you don't need it.
That's the point of the committee meeting, is to parse it out.
Do your job, but you want to keep it nonetheless.
I think it's helpful to have.
Do you see the potential of abuse, though, in that companies or people will have to lobby you personally and not care about the law itself?
No one's asked me to overturn any laws.
You would have the ability to.
In some context, perhaps, but again, this is something that would have to be used very judiciously.
Trust me. We'd have to use it judiciously. Trust me. Nobody's come to me to ask to overturn laws. It's because we haven't passed it yet. But the moment we do, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be knocking at your door.
Right.
Yeah, but I'd use it judicially.
How could you possibly think that this would not undermine the trust in our democracy then?
I think Canadians expect us to act reasonably. I think Canadians expect us to be judicious in our decision making. Passing a law like C-15, which all members will have the opportunity to vote on, is something that is inherently accountable in and of itself.
Well, it has this particular clause that is very problematic.
It's inherently unaccountable. The mob might come for us. That's what he just said. That's the only accountability that you have in the law. The mob might come for us because Canadians expect a certain behavior, but you're not going to be bound by any kind of law or anything like that. In fact, you're going to be able to overwrite laws. Yeah, but we would use it judiciously. Trust us.
It is all over the news. I have a letter with 43 organizations asking for you to strike it because of the potential of abuse, but you still want to keep it.
I think I've answered that question about 3 times now.
You can't be trusted.
I just don't find it reasonable for you to have the powers of a king, essentially.
I certainly don't have the powers of a king.
If you are allowed to exempt any entity from any federal law, it is like the powers of a king.
Is that a statement or a question?
Well, it's a fact.
Thank you, Ms. Kobina. That concludes the time for this.
Gosh.
So I'm sure they'll pass that law because, you know, here in Washington State, we're in the middle of passing an income tax too. So, you know, I mean, why not? You know,
we'd take away parents' rights. No worries.
Whatever. Yeah. You're going to override all these laws and go against the will of the people. Well, the Canadians expect us to be judicious, but are you? You're about to lose ice hockey because of your deal with China.
Right. Well, and he was saying like, well, the fact that it's being voted on means that it has accountability built in. It's like, you dumbass.
Yeah. So over at American Journal, the Alex Jones Network feed, Carlite says, hey, AJ, Tiff Time. Good morning from Peasants. Fraser, great to be here with you. We are from the Peasants' perspective. Good morning from the Peasants' perspective, says Carlimba. And Carlite says, come check out Peasants' perspective too. Thank you guys so much for jumping over there. That is awesome.
Excellent engagement.
All right. It is time for us to go ahead and jump into private mode. We are going to be exposing more of the fraud of Black History Month, talking about the great Tulsa race massacre that didn't happen. And then we're going to be hearing about the cannabis paradox. And we're also going to hear from billionaire hedge fund Ray Dalio talking about digital banking and how that is basically happening like right now. Okay. So